Hello, my love. Before I continue on with my strange and bizarre supernatural Halloween stories in this closing chapter, I just want to make a few disclaimers that being a witch can really get weird sometimes, hee hee. There are two final stories I want to share with you before we complete our fourth chapter. I had to break down in segments to make it easier to follow. In case you've forgotten, the segment we are in is titled, Do Not Read This Witch's Chapter, for Ye Shall Surely Die. If you thought the jester and apparitions in the previous chapter were weird, the strange spiritual entities I encountered were so strange and dangerous, I shouldn't have survived this day. But it wasn't my time to go, yippee. Anyway, my love, haha. The story of Enchanted Rock was one of the most bizarre supernatural events that continuously happened to me for over 12 hours. The main point in the story I want to cover is that a witch's life can get weird and dangerous at times. So, I have to ask you, honey, do you really want to be a witch? I wasn't even planning on going to Enchanted Rock that day because I wanted to spend some time at Pedernales Falls State Park. Since a severe weather advisory was forecasted, I knew this day was for me. Because I'm weird and like to be alone, hee hee. But when I arrived there, the park ranger said they had to close down the park to guests because of the threat of flash floods that can change the beautiful little river into a raving monster. But hey, I like monsters, haha. But I totally understood his concern. So I looked at my navigation map on my car and found that Enchanted Rock State Natural Area was not excessively far from the area I was in, so I took my chances and headed for Enchanted Rock. Once again, I consulted with Mother Nature, and she said it wasn't going to flood if I went to the park. I was just going to have to deal with a little fog that was going to end my life. Of course, Mother Nature forgot to tell me about my life being in danger because she is wicked and has a strange sense of humor, but that part of the story isn't important right now, haha. Let's get back to our little adventure, shall we? As luck would have it, the park was open and the friendly park ranger said there were only a few people visiting today. And to be careful on the granite bedrock dome mountain because it was very wet and slippery today because of intermittent fog in the area. I thanked him and headed up this majestic billion-year-old rock that was a sacred ground that the Comanche and Tonkawa tribes both revered and feared. Since I didn't plan on traveling to a sacred Native American Indian land, I didn't contact my good sister friend that is a member of the Coquille Indian tribe in Oregon. If I did, she could have contacted the medicine men to say a prayer for me to protect me from evil spirits. I have a curse whenever I travel to Indian territory. My life always seems to end up in extreme danger whenever I vision quest or travel on Indian land. I am only 27% Comanche when I took a DNA test, but was later told I was only 26%. It's just like a corporation to rob a Native American 1% of their ancestry, as I smile sarcastically, winky wink. Anyway, I fell in love with the area once I saw it, and there was no one on the mountain as I was in awe of this majestic magical area that earned its name Enchanted Rock. As I was climbing this sacred area, the fog mysteriously rolled back in like a thick blanket that instantly covered the few park buildings below, which transformed this incredible mountain back in time. There were steep banks on the mountain, but nothing like the ranger cautioned about. I still slipped and fell a few times as I was climbing, but nothing serious. Just a bruised ego for a mountain girl that never falls down in nature until now, haha. A strange supernatural thing happened to me halfway up the mountain as I was climbing, though. To my amazement, I witnessed a group of Native American people dancing in a circle and saw rhythmic drum beats playing, but I couldn't hear the sounds. The only problem seeing them is that these Native Americans were from around the 1400s from my best estimation, and as I neared their location, they all disappeared when the fog transported them back in time when I approached them. As I continued climbing up the mountain, I was surprised by a shaman that quickly looked up at me and then shrugged as he went back to his prayers. He was also an apparition from hundreds of years ago, which was making this day very strange. I think the only time I jumped up by being startled was when I reached the top of the mountain. That is when I was shot by a cowboy that was pointing a rifle at me. When the gun exploded, It broke my connection to the cowboy. And as I was looking to see if I was really hit, he completely disappeared. It almost seemed as if a battle between the Indians and cowboys of the area took place, but I am not sure why the mountain wanted me to witness that event. It just seemed like that day was meant for me to be in different time periods with the fog, and every time I went to a different part of the mountain, I stepped into different time periods from prehistoric to the present time I was in. So strange. Well, when I reach the top of Enchanted Rock, I like to collect samples of water and place them in specialized bottles I keep at home. These specialized bottles allow life forms to grow if there are any fungi or biological entities in the water I collect. I have some magnificent water samples from all over the United States, and the highest ice water I collected at was on top of Pikes Peak near Colorado, that was past the tree line at just under 14,000 feet. As I was searching for water in the park, I found some water in a small crater I could use, but something didn't feel right. So, I traded 6 ounces of my precious bottle of drinking water for 6 precious ounces of mountain water I found in a crater on the mountain. Once I collected the water sample from the crater and completed the trade, another thick blanket of fog rolled in so stealthy and quickly I couldn't even see my hands. The fog became so thick. I became so disoriented I completely lost any ability to navigate this area since I didn't have my phone with me, and I became hopelessly lost. The more I tried to walk down the mountain, the steeper it got, until I was struggling to keep from falling with every inch I took. Just then the fog mysteriously cleared, and I discovered to my horror I was about to fall off a cliff on the rocks I was clinging on. I was stuck there for hours, trying my best to climb back up to safety, and whenever I made any progress, I would slip back down near the edge I was trying to escape from, where I would fall over 150 feet on some jagged rocks below if I fell down from the cliff's edge. I was never scared in my life, but I do hate heights. That is why I climb on mountains to face my fear of heights, haha. But a wet, slippery mountain cliff that is over 150 feet from the ground is not a good place to climb or practice on my fears. I just couldn't believe how much danger I was in. My legs began shaking uncontrollably because of the danger I was in, but I refused to be afraid and was determined to get out of there alive. After hours of struggling, I managed to climb up around 20 feet to a thin ledge where I could stand up and hopefully run to the other side where I needed to be. But there was a 50-foot gap I needed to jump across to get to the other side. I thought I could just wait here and hope that someone would eventually find me, or I could try to jump to the other side to keep from falling to my death. I was so agitated and angry at myself for being so stupid to get in this extremely dangerous position that I lost all rational thought and became primal. I don't know what I was, but I was so angry and determined to jump 50 feet to the other side, even though I knew that was impossible to do. Just before I tried, though, a dark figure from above flew towards me, and it was the Grim Reaper. Or something that looked like the Grim Reaper, haha. The funny thing is that I never believed in that fairy tale monster and still don't believe in him, but I saw some kind of death spiritual entity that day, and he came within an inch of my face. I saw his bones and death skull stare at me, and then he flew away. It was so bizarre. I don't know why that thing came to me. It's almost as if it were looking for a soul to take, but realized it didn't want me, so it flew off. After that encounter, I ran on the ledge and jumped. I knew I wasn't going to make it, but somehow flew 50 feet to the other side where it was safe to climb back down to safety. What I did was impossible, but if I listened to my rational mind, I would have died that day, and now I can fly, yippee. Just to let you know, my dear, I'm not going to jump off the Empire State Building anytime soon, thinking I can fly, hee hee. That would be suicide, since I still don't know how I flew on that fateful day, but everything that happened there was one strange supernatural event after another that I have no explanation for. After I safely got to the top of the mountain, my muscles finally began to ache, and I was in tremendous pain for overusing them while trying my best not to fall for 6 hours of my life. By the time I reached safely to the top, the fog mysteriously disappeared, and I was able to get my bearings from the moon and found the front safe passageway back to my car. I was so happy and relieved to be safe that I was singing gentle campfire songs as I thankfully made it to my car. Before I left, though, I really needed a hot shower to help my aching muscles, and the brochure said they had warm showers in their restroom area. So I happily went to the building where a man and his young son exited from the men's side, and I smiled at them, but they looked at me in shock and hurriedly walked away. Well, that was kind of rude of them, so I went to the ladies' room, turned the shower on, but only cold water came out, darn. I guess I'll have to wait until I get home to take a warm shower when I get there, but before I left the shower stall, something caught my eye, and it startled me. There was a creature near the mirror that I caught a glimpse of, so I cautiously went to the mirror and was amazed at what I saw. It was me, and I looked like a wild animal with scrapes, bruises, and thousands of tiny water droplets of water that was clinging to my hair. No wonder the man and boy were so afraid of me, but as I peered deeper into my reflection, I saw a very beautiful person that has been through a lot, and the smile on my face made me realize just how precious life truly is. When I got home, I saw in a news report that a young teen boy around 18 years old died when he fell off a mountain from another park on the same day. I should have died too. I really had survivor's guilt because he was so close to my age, and I couldn't help to wonder if that Grim Reaper got that poor boy instead of me. I know this is an unbelievable story I'm telling you. Even I don't believe it, haha. But it happened exactly the way I described it, and not sure why I came so close to death that day. I don't climb mountains anymore, and I haven't tried to fly since that fateful time. And I'm never going to try to fly again because what I did was impossible, supernatural, and unknown how I managed to fly that day. Maybe I flew because it wasn't my time to go? I really don't know, but I'm here now and glad to share this incredible, strange story with you, my love. Remember now, I'm a practical witch, my dear. I'm not going to jump to my death because I think I can fly. That would be insane. Well, it's 3:44 a.m. in the morning as I am writing to you, and I have one final story to mention to you before this chapter is over. As a witch, I have the ability to receive contact from any person that was murdered within a 5-mile radius of where I sleep. I used to live in the city, but the area I was in had so many homicides. It seems the dead would always come to show me what happened to them. They always came to me because I have the gift, or curse, of having dearly departed murder victims come to me if they are near. Well, after some time of seeing so many murder victims during that year's time, I had to move away and felt so bad because I felt like I deserted the people that needed me the most. But I never could get enough information from them to notify police because they only shown me how scared they felt when they died. As a result of my predicament, I moved as far away from the city and found a wonderful farming community to live at. Oh, it was so wonderful and peaceful being there, my love. Until one night when I heard a woman moaning near my bedroom window. I was living at the time. She was assaulted and shot but didn't immediately die. It was the most horrific thing I ever had to vision in my life while I was sleeping. So I got my loaded weapon, ran outside to confront her killer, but he wasn't there. That is when I realized I had an apparition that came to me of a possible woman that was murdered nearby, but where was she at? When I woke up the next day, I decided to ride my bicycle to work that day, and I started to have more supernatural things happen to me on my commute. Crows in the trees were squawking and making a ruckus. Then, as I crossed a bridge, I received a vision of a dead lady floating in the river if this area were to ever flood. It almost seemed as if the lady from last night was trying to give me clues her body was close by. In the news, there was a report of a lady missing during Thanksgiving, but she was presumed to be alive. That is why the encounter I had with the spiritual remains of the same lady made this one of my most intense, accurate encounters I ever had. I was within 500 meters of finding her body, but never did, and felt like I failed her because she wanted me or someone to find her remains. It was so tragic. When her assailant was caught, his daughter told police where her body was located at, and it was right where I was searching for her a few days earlier. If I just went a little further up the gravel road and went over the fence where her remains were hiding under some brush, I could have alerted the authorities sooner where she was at. I cried for 6 months after that incident, and it took so much time to recover from this tragic incident that happened to this poor woman. I did manage to comfort her when I spoke out loud to let her know. I felt her pain. I acknowledge how special she truly was, how she didn't want to die, and how wrong it was for someone to take her life away. Her killer received the death penalty and died in prison before he had the chance to be executed, and when he passed away, I no longer felt her spirit wander around the earth where she was buried at. I truly felt she crossed over into the light once her assailant passed away, and it gave me comfort and the ability to go back to living again. I guess this was the deepest, darkest secret I had to share with you in our private Sacred Circle church. It can be very painful to be a witch, and if you are blessed or cursed in being able to have murder victims contact you. I hope you understand how hard it is to be a witch sometimes, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Since this is what I am destined to do, and if there are any dearly departed people that need my help, I'm here for you. That was the promise I made till the day I die. A few years later, my bestie Samantha said a murdered lady came and let her know that poor woman's husband murdered her and buried her remains in a rural park near a small town. Samantha wanted to know if I was interested in going to the park to find her body, and naturally I said, yes. It was such a nice day as we walked through the primitive park looking for this poor woman's body. This area is so remote that few people visit this park, but on the day we went, there were several people walking by. Unfortunately, we were never able to locate her, but I did take my small shovel with me, and as people were walking by, I smiled at them and said, I'm looking for a friend buried in this park. Want to help me? Haha, can you imagine how strange that must look to people that pass by us? Well, my love, that is my life as a witch. I have completely normal days sprinkled with such unbelievable supernatural stuff. I think I can rival the other Samantha from the Bewitched show I've been watching lately, haha. By the way, my bestie Samantha is named after the same TV character in the Bewitched show because her mother loved that show. Wow. Now that this chapter is nearly over, we need to leave our sacred space and return back to the living world. As the line approaches closer to our domain, do you feel the anticipation to cross over back to the living so we can live our life? It always makes me humble and so glad to return home. But at the same time, it's hard to leave for my sacred space because this is where perfect love and perfect trust can be attained if just for a few moments, my love. Well, it's time to go back, my love, and remove the light hypnosis bestowed upon us so we can return home. This is not the normal way I enter a circle, but is the best way I can simulate to you how a circle cast area is. Remember, what we shared in the circle stays in the circle, so we can focus on our life when we return to the world of humans. Are you ready, my love? Let's count back from 10 to 0 as we slowly open our eyes while holding my hand and listening to my soft, sweet voice as we step back to our world in
10, 9, 8,
7,
6, 5, 4,
3.
2, 1. Now.
Welcome back to the living world, my love. I will see you in the next chapter whenever you are up to it. Love you.